societal memory and relevancy between now and 7 to 6 years ago, doesn't have the bid for reality at the same distance and heaviness that the world as it emerged now has it. The Trump administration is the most authoritarianly irresponsible thing to happen to North America, but as you may recall, the bid for our information sources and the ideal of the transparent are kind of in a quiet distancing as a parallaxing but also as an unfolding of its history in public. The ethics of surveillance and means have this median unfolding in its applicability. The Julian Assange extradition marked a change in the vigilance at best. It's in our peripheries as a public issue otherwise. There is currently a massive dispersal in interest in world affairs, nothing is believable, and certain realities have been unhinged. We are very active in our exchange of our medias at this time, and net neutrality was at court level. And the elephant in the room was the runaway reality for them as well, despite the cash crop certain things were. We were a little more inclined to ask about what frames more often. And perhaps information could complement our will to it. It's one of the more consequential characteristics of sociology at this time actually. Prior attempts at affirming a margin of control were calculated in generality I think. But it wouldn't be until the introduction of the Google algorithm that our media relations would attempt to configure personally, and cateringly to us, in an attempt to isolate an openness. It's also notable that this was the time when copyright exercised its gesture on torrenting and independent availability of our medias. Sorry. The thing about algorithm as marginally regulative in society, is that data is extrapolated and used, based on a pretense of its purpose micromanaging intention in the future. What that had to do with people was included I think. But at that you are always at the door of something in isolation, and not accounting for all. Even for quantum computation reconfiguring and recalculating eventualities and probabilities, what I think remains the unobligatory element, is perhaps how that probability within human is by its constant, a chaos, a variable, and in a changing one at that. It's not the nature of calculation to take into consideration everything that is imperfection, and especially not the one that is multifaceted and their mental lives are more forefrontly, varyingly concerned and in self-aware burden like that. Not enough for it all to be there for me. Yes, you may gauge a trend, but that only is selective to an entity's state of affairs. Being able to notice this and ask can be natural for an awareness. Which begs a question. Is there an intrinsic fallacy in control eventually? One that we are able to represent a default to? Can we affirm our integrity and describe our discourses within that fallacy? Although the interpretation of culture later would perhaps be assuming with the function of its new momentum. Where the coin landed, and the dust settled before then, may have determined where the old decades sentiments of that were going to land. America, and Canada, in motion at 2017 otherwise, is a very unsure and precarious, and quiet dispersal of its relationships to its world. Truth be told, the contexts of what grasps at it later, by whatever will to configuring, in power, however confident, is of poignant humans, and malices alike. Shifts in reality and relationship, invokes displacement and sentiment later,